Cool. Okay. Well, welcome in. Hi, Bridget. Nice to
I
have you join us here.
I am
Coming
the
in
reason
hot.
for the tardiness. Marty is the reason for the tardy. I was just rolling out of a coaching appointment. So
Yeah, no worries. No worries. We got some nice slides put together here. We got our nice career exploration overview, graphic here that we've got on the slide deck to start us off.
yeah. Yeah, I'll kick us off and kind of get us going a little bit here. So welcome everybody to the MBA Careers Overview and Ask Us Anything. Anything within reason, okay? So we're not going to give our social security numbers or the winning lottery numbers. However, we will try to answer as best as we can. This session is really designed for Coach Will and I to impart some insights to the populations that we work with around all the different things you can do with that MBA degree. And we know, especially for folks that are maybe newer to the business space or newer to Carlson, trying to figure out what is like, how do you make sense of all of the options? It can be kind of overwhelming. And how do you mix and match and make things really work for you can be overwhelming. So this is just a kind of a good primer on like how to move through this process. So Coach Will and I are going to be running this. I'll be leading the first half. He'll take the second half. As you see, we would love for you to connect with us on LinkedIn. We both work with our working professional populations and coach across all of our MBAers. So we love to get the audience warmed up with a good question. So in the chat, what was your first paying job? So what was your first job? And if you can share in the chat, we want to see what we're dealing with here. What do we have? And I always appreciate Coach Will's commentary as he has thoughts.
Oh, tennis king. Nice.
That's fantastic.
So I
Washington.
have a bunch of different ones.
Whoa. We have
I'm
some,
gonna
it looks
throw
like
this.
we have some exceptional dishwashers happening in this room. This is great. There's a Walmart museum.
There is. I think it's reopening here soon. So if you haven't had the chance, head on
Oh
down to
my
Arkansas.
I had no idea. I had no idea. That's fantastic. It's great. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Well, I hope that as you are sitting in this moment now in 2024, reflecting on how far you have come, because my guess is that none of you are still doing that same job that you started out in, which is just a reminder that we continually grow and evolve in our careers. And what aids that and what helps that is the ability to see what you can be. And so we want to start with a few of the kind of high level what we're going to talk about today, and then some of the resources. So we're going to talk a little bit more about just the folks that help you here at Carlson who aren't on this call with us, but our colleagues. And then giving an idea of genuinely just some job titles, functions, industries, and companies. And then Coach Will is going to also offer some resources for like how to take us to the next step. If you have questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat. Coach Will likely address them because he is the person who puts all the links and all of the good stuff in. And we can also we have some moments built into this where we can highlight. We can open up for genuine conversation as well. So in terms of what the Carlson Business Career Center does, we are here to serve you throughout your entire career journey. So as I mentioned, we have a really big team, but only a few of us are on this call today. We have our coaching team, which Coach Will and I are part of. We are the student facing. We're the ones you're often getting emails from, and you're used to kind of seeing our faces and hearing our names. And so we do all of the one-on-one career coaching and programming. We also offer access to some industry coaches that have specialized expertise within certain areas such as product management or the finance sector. And we can always help you get connected with one of those coaches. Our business development team are our external facing, employer facing side of the team. So they are doing a lot of work behind the scenes of building, nurturing, and expanding our relationships with employers throughout the country. And they are working to represent Carlson to employers, not only for our undergraduate students, but also for our graduate students, which is nice because it creates a one-stop shop for our employers. And then we also have our operations team. You saw Julie Bartels was on initially. Julie leads our operations operations folks, you all know, you all been there. Like the operations people are the ones that make all the magic happen. So they're the ones that get all the things going for us. So we are very fortunate. So we have a team of, over 16. We are very well resourced, and I'm proud to be part of this team because I think it also just shows how much Carlson cares about your development as a professional. These are the faces that go with all those different roles. So Maggie Thomas is our executive director who kind of wrangles everything. And then you'll see our business development team on the left side, and then our coaches and our operations team. Oh, oops, sorry, backwards. Okay, so now we want to talk about where you can go. So I know that you did some research before you came into your graduate program, kind of figuring out like, why do I want to put myself through this essentially? And hopefully you were starting to ideate and reflect on what are some of those career advancement opportunities. And we use some language that I like to reinforce of as students, we don't want to label you, but we want to make sense of where you are right now, which is some folks will identify as an accelerator. Some identify as a career changer, and then we're all career explorers because that's why we're here today, is to continue to see what we can be. But accelerators are folks that are typically looking to advance their career within the same functional area. So they're a marketing nerd and they want to keep growing in the marketing space. We work with accelerators a little differently than we're going to work with changers. Accelerators are going to typically work with us about halfway through their graduate journey, and we're going to be talking with them more about how to position for getting the most ROI on that degree within their designated space. Career changers are literally making a lane shift of a function or an industry. You're an engineer looking to move into product management or to the business side, or you've been working in consumer packaged goods and you're looking to move into the medical technology space. So you're moving a function or you're moving industry. Every time we're shifting lanes, it's going to add a little bit of additional complexity or friction to the search. It's not impossible. It just means we want to kind of normalize expectations. So this is common for folks to come in and say, I'm an accelerator, I'm a changer. Cool. That's cool. You can be all the things. So we think about what are those career drivers, and I really wanted to make sure we highlight the basics, or not the basics, the foundation of career. And this is not stuff we're going to talk about today, but Coach Will is going to share some resources later on about this. But when we invite you to really reflect and lean into your career development process, it always has to start with understanding what your career drivers are. And this is that introspective, kind of touchy-feely stuff that people don't always want to share, but it's like, what's really important to you? What are your values? Do you like to be working towards the greater good? Do you like to be in a competitive environment? How does your personality show up in work? What's interesting to you? What do you naturally gravitate towards? What kind of culture are you looking to be part of? And or what type of culture are you coming from? What are your motivators? Are you looking to make some impact, make money, lead others? And my dog is joining us here for one hot second. Hold on. He's sitting outside, but he just wanted to come to the window and bark. So we want to think about what's happening internally with you, because what we know is when we tend to get antsy or itchy in our careers, or when we're ready for a little shift, it's likely because those career values are changing. What mattered to you early in your career isn't necessarily the same thing that matters at a different point. Maybe as you're building a family or you're looking to change and move across the country, your needs and your desires are changing, and that's when we start to want to upskill or move roles. So we always have to start internally and take that time to reflect, because then those drivers are manifest up into functions, industries, and companies. So when we're talking with candidates, we want you to think about segmenting, to keep it really simple. Career is a function. So it's the actions you're taking that lives within an industry. And there's over 60 different industries you can be part of. And you do that function within a company. But it can be really overwhelming if you're trying to boil the ocean and think of all of these things as combined, instead of just literally separating out what is the function that I like to do. What are industries that are interesting to me? And just as important, what are industries that are so boring to you, you want nothing to do with? Because that's also important. And then we can talk about companies. We will have folks say, I'm industry agnostic. I don't really care as long as I can do great work. That's cool. But that is also the equivalent of saying, I don't care where we eat for dinner as long as there's food, which doesn't help us narrow things down. So that's why we can think about what you don't want as well. So Coach Will, you're making weird faces. Are you good? You're making that like furrowed brow. Maybe he's frozen, furrowed brow. Okay, I'm going to carry on. So we're going to first start with functions. So when we think of functions, we're often thinking about the core classes that you're taking. An MBA is meant to be a generalist degree. It was ideally a degree where you could come into an organization and plug and play as a leader. We have moved a bit now into more specialized spaces. However, I just like to remind you, the goal is to be a generalist at heart. And that's where we have that variety of courses. So when we think of what the common functions are, and just Coach Will just wants us to know his internet is spotty, and so he is moving locations. So common functions, this information is always available on our employment reports, which if you go to the Z link at the bottom of our slides, you'll see right on our main page a link to all of our employment reports for all of our graduate programs. But common functions, marketing, general management, et cetera. So I am going to go rapid fire through these next few slides. You also will have access to this entire deck. So you can, you can have friends over this weekend. You can like go through this deck together. It's good times, I promise. What I wanted to be able to offer you were job titles, things to consider for the kinds of career, this kind of work, elements of the work, and companies that we have worked with for these types of roles. Why? Because this is the stuff that you can research. You can take associate marketing manager or associate brand manager. You can search that on Google, Indeed, LinkedIn, and read some job descriptions. You can put it into ChatGPT and say, tell me what are the top 50 companies that hire associate marketing managers in the US. It's nice to just have titles to start from. So marketing, and these are job titles of folks who have typically earned these roles right out of business school. So they have come into business school with at least 4 to 6 years of professional experience, pursued an MBA, full-time, executive, online, part-time, doesn't matter, pursued that MBA. And then these are those, what we would refer to as an entry-level MBA role. So that salary is going to be about 110 plus for certain. As most likely. So these are these titles that folks want to like to search. So you can see what we have for the marketing. You have kind of more focused on brand. We also have marketing roles in the insights, like consumer insights space, and then business development. You'll see titles are often manager or associate. Another area of marketing is product management, which is very, very popular at Carlson, especially folks that have come with a technical background, like an engineering degree or a science degree, and they want to take that technical acumen and pair it with marketing skills, and that's where they head into product marketing management or product manager roles. We also get a small amount, never as many as I'd love, of folks interested in sales. And an MBA degree paired with a sales career is priceless. You can do some amazing things with that. We have some phenomenal alum who have been able to build really great careers in like the tech space with sales. They're able to take that general business knowledge and speak really well in the sales space with their key accounts. Things to think about if you say, I think I'm interested in marketing, someone might say, okay, are you interested in like business to business marketing, such as like an eco lab where they're selling, products to another business, or a business to consumer, or direct to consumer, or e-commerce. Those are some of the little extra flavors you can put into it. Often marketers are referred to as the hub of the wheel. They're really the person who is serving as the general manager of that product or that brand, and they have to work collaboratively across the organization to drive success forward for that brand. More and more, we hear our recruiters telling us they want to see data skills and project management. And then you'll see companies that listed at the bottom. Supply chain operations and general management roles. We do have a Master of Supply Chain program here, which is an accelerated 1-year program. And so some of these titles are from that program and also from our MBA program. As you see across the bottom of the screen, we think of supply chain and ops as 4 areas. Planning, so it's planning for the product, the widget, sourcing the materials for it, making it, and transporting it. And so if we look through the titles that are on the left, those refer to all the different titles along this whole spectrum. So if you're someone who loves like the continuous process improvement, that's considered a supply chain and ops role. Project management, logistics and transportation. One of the things I love about this space is this is where companies make money. If you can save the company money, if you can find the best source for whatever the widget, you can help drive some major outcomes. In addition, this is also the space that's leaned into data really hard. So our graduate program focuses a lot on data tools for this. So, and part of that is, we've come through COVID, we've seen the need for a really responsive supply chain, a need to diversify. It's just like recently in the news, you may have heard about the IV bags that we learned that in America, we have like one IV bag manufacturer that was impacted because they're in North Carolina. And that's not ideal. We need more than one manufacturer. So this is a really cool space in terms of, we all kind of saw the impacts of it during COVID. For finance, first thing I want to highlight is that I will have candidates come in and say, oh, I don't want to do finance, because they think of finance as financial services. So we're talking about finance just as a function, the work that you're doing, working in a finance team, in the finance department. We're not talking about finance as financial services, which is an industry, but just thinking about the numbers people. In the graduate space, when you graduate with an MBA, we see our candidates go into the workforce and they are in future-facing finance roles. Past-facing roles are going to be like accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounting in general. But the future-facing side is part of the FP&A, or the financial planning and analysis team. They're doing the forecasting. They're serving as strategic thought partners to their different departments. They're helping to make the strategic plan happen. They're finding the money to make those initiatives work. It's very strategic work. It's often aligned very closely to the strategy teams. So that type of finance work is very appealing because it's so strategic. We also do not have nearly enough candidates interested in this work, and we have a big need for this work in the Twin Cities. We have a lot of companies that are looking to hire financial analysts and do not have nearly enough talent here. The other areas of finance where we see some interest, it would be in the investment banking space, which is also very strategic. And then the kind of venture capital, private equity, all of those are going to require that finance understanding because you're working with structuring deals. You're having to work very strategically and understand broader markets. And then we also see some roles that are geared more towards folks, I would say, that bring a lot of the strong relationship building skills, which would be more in the like portfolio management, relationship management, wealth management, where you're working with clients, high net worth clients. So that's our finance space. We're getting closer to the end here. Consulting, there's a big notion that our students are all interested in being consultants, but when you actually look at our employment report, it's like way down the list in terms of where folks actually go. So part of that, I think, is just due to the nature of the consulting industry, but I think it's also that there has been a notion that if you really love doing strategic work, and we know that because we'll hear candidates say, I love to solve problems, I love puzzles. All MBA work is strategic at the core. That's what you're hired to do. So consulting is one space where you serve as a strategic thought partner, but there's a lot of other areas where you can implement that strategy. I wanted to highlight some of the differences in titles, as you'll see in the yellow black box of like what a consultant is called, an MBA consultant is called at BCG, Deloitte, McKinsey. Consultant, senior consultant, associate, These are all folks coming in at the same level, like the same entry level of MBA, but there's these different titles, which is what makes our jobs very difficult, because a title doesn't tell you all the things you need to know. But for consulting roles, if you're working at like an external consultancy, such as a Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, McKinsey, you are being hired as a third party to come in and provide strategic thought partnership on a specific problem or challenge the organization is having. If you are, and sometimes you're coming in as like in a large organization, sometimes you're part of a boutique or like a tech focused consultancy. So you have this like one area that you work with. Maybe it's supply chain or it's like a technology implementation. So those are types of consulting that can from large companies to small. Then if you're like, I don't want to be doing the lifestyle of that consultant, which can be on the road a lot, because you are the commodity that you are the product when you're a consultant. You're the product of the company. They're hiring you out as their work. Some folks will say, I want to do more internal strategy types of roles. And so in that case, if you're in the organization, you might be on a strategy, advisory, transformation, or ventures team. If you snoop around LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of these teams are populated with folks that have come from external consulting, like a BCG, McKinsey, et cetera. So they have come off the road, we say, and come into an internal strategy team. So that's something to know about. Kind of competitive candidates have had some experience in it, but literally looking for job titles that have strategy in it is another way to just break into that space. One consideration to be thinking of when it comes to consulting is that in addition to working in teams on projects, you are also often needing to secure additional work from that client. Part of it is, well, while we're here and you're making a proposal of a way they could solve a problem by bringing in this certain technology tool, and it just so happens your company also can implement that technology tool for them. That's part of the work as well. There is a kind of a sales component to it as well that I like to highlight. And then leadership development programs. I will say this on my little soapbox, and Coach Will is going to be like, oh, Mike, like mute her microphone. Leadership development rotation programs are not a career function. It's like not a function. It's a program. So it's not a true function. It's an initiative. So it's like, and Coach Will has heard me say this too. It's like in the Barbie movie when Ken says his job is beach. And he's like, it's just beach. That's what like rotational programs is. It's just beach. It's like a program. It's within the program that the roles and the functions live. So if someone's like, I'm interested in rotational programs. Excellent. Beach. Tell me more. So the programs are often, there's 3 different ways they're named. It can be like the name of the actual program followed by associate. So you'll see like ULE, which is United Leadership Experience Associate, or an LDRP specialist, Leadership Development Rotation Program specialist. So those can be titles. It can be like there's different pathways, like pathways is the title that Amazon uses. Sometimes they'll call it like by the function of finance or a supply chain or a marketing rotational program. And sometimes it's just the name of the company. The key things to know, it's beach. It's not a specific job. You are going to be in rotation as a career accelerator. This is not like a tour of the company over 1 to 5 years. This is you are getting a crash course in a variety of different functional areas in the business to position you as an accelerator. You're also likely getting some mentorship from senior leaders. You can also be moving around a bit based on this type of company. So moving from geographic region, the most intense one we saw was 4 rotations in 1 year, 4 geographic rotations in 1 year. But we've also, like Cigna does a 5-year rotation program. But it's rotation for a reason. You're moving around. You have to be able to adapt quickly to different environments and get up to speed. But they can be phenomenal accelerator programs. We have a couple here in the Twin Cities that are notable: Medtronic, Target, Optum, and Emerson. But I would also say all of those have some kind of rotation component to it. And so you'd really have to read the position description. I'm going to pause if there's questions on functions or anything you need to elevate, Will, now that you're back in the land of access.
I just, turning off all the kids' devices that draw off the internet. That's always key. So Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the spottiness is cleared up, but no questions in the chat.
Okay. I'll keep micro machining my way through. So we have those functions. So when you come into business school, you'll hear from us coaches, and we're saying our goal is for you to leave Carlson with more career choice and more options than when you started. That's the power of education. So we want you to be mindful of having one or two or three functions that you're interested in, spaces that you're like, that's the kind of work that really speaks to me, in which I thrive. Because then we pair that, and that's the kind of mixing and matching. You can pair that into an industry and then a company. So I'm going to literally not go through these lines of all, but I do just want to highlight what we get here in the Twin Cities. You'll see a lot of our folks head into industries that are very prevalent in the Twin Cities, because we do have almost 20 Fortune 500 companies here. We're very fortunate for that. But you'll see a lot in healthcare, which is an umbrella term that can encompass insurance, clinician and provider side or hospital side, medical technology or devices such as Medtronic, Boston Scientific, Coloplast, pharmaceuticals, I was like kind of biologicals, equipment. So it's a really, really big term, and we have a huge ecosystem of that here. Also, lots of great companies on the manufacturing side, 3M, Ecolab, Graco, Emerson, Eaton, Donaldson, all the sons, it seems like, financial services, and then our consumer packaged goods, retail. So the companies that you tend to think of with the Twin Cities are obviously places that our grads tend to go because they're larger organizations. Does this mean these are the only places you can go? No. There are lots of other companies, mid-size, smaller, startups. There's a ton. I think what's helpful though is to go and look at some of these larger organizations to see the job titles, to kind of get a sense of like what those roles look like and where people who have worked there have gone afterwards. So if you're like, okay, let's say someone's working at Ecolab, where do they tend to go after that? Do they go to other B2Bs or other manufacturing? So within the next slides, again, we'll attach this deck to the handshake event, and we can drop it in the chat too. These are companies that have connected with Carlson for talent. This is a sampling, a tiny sampling. These are not all companies that are saying, hey, Bridget, Will, Career Center team, I need candidates for, all these different roles. These are companies that are more local, that we have strong relationships with, that I think are just a good place for you to start if you're doing some exploration. So you can see our marketing, the product management, supply chain and ops. For the finance side, we had that investment banking, wealth management, and then finance. For the consulting, we talked about kind of the larger consultancies, the more boutique consultancies, which are going to have kind of a niche focus, and then our companies that hire for corporate strategy. And then are those rotational programs, which are beach. It's not a role, it's beach. Local companies that have rotation programs at the graduate level. So that means after you graduate, you get in one of these programs. These are the local companies. There are tons nationally, and Coach will show some of the resources we have for being able to search for these. And then I did put in government and nonprofit because we do have a really strong number of folks who come to work for the University of Minnesota, for government roles, the county. We've had folks at the National Park Service. We have folks that going, within the military, within federal affiliates. One of our favorites is Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, DEED. DEED and Mayo Clinic both have consultants and strategists that they hire, and they like to hire those out of the MBA program. And that can be, if you're anyone who's participating in the National Loan Forgiveness Program, they're considered nonprofits. And so you can work there and get your loans forgiven. So when we talk about, again, what is career? It's function. And then you have industries of interest, and then within those you have companies. So when we're working with you, we're always asking, tell us about some of those functions that are interesting, and what are some industries that you like and industries that are kind of meh. So this is a pause for another question break, but also to stretch, because I have been talking at you for 24 minutes nonstop, as fast as I could. Questions, comments, what wasn't clear?
Just a quick question, and I think this is more on a one-on-one basis, but Focused a lot on Twin Cities opportunities here. Are there other regions in particular that the University of Minnesota has kind of a strong connection to, or is it really just sort of outside of Minnesota scattered? It just depends on the company.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple of ways that we work with folks when they're doing like a geographic job search. So we have strong alumni networks in the major metropolitan areas that you would think of, like San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Texas, I guess I'll just say that. Chicago, a little bit of kind of the Northeast, like I would think of New York and a little Boston. So we have alumni networks there. We always tap into those folks as kind of great people to be able to network with and see if you can, roll into that kind of a work environment or that market. We also, as of like this afternoon, we have folks that are heading out to California, to San Francisco on a trek where they're getting to meet with some of the tech companies. And that's something that's sponsored by Carlson, paid for by students, but sponsored by Carlson. So we have relationships and, in geographic regions, we have relationships in different industries. It is best to work directly with your coach if you're like, this is the region I'm looking for, and here's the industry, because we will work with either alumni or we'll work with and our business development team, the employer facing, to make sure we can help you find those right contacts. And yeah, so we have it. We tend to see 70% plus of our students want to stay in the Twin Cities after they graduate, hence why you see such a strong presence of Twin Cities companies.
Yeah, perfect. That makes sense.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. Okay. Will, are you good if I stop sharing and you can start sharing and run through your stuff?
Yeah.
Good.
But while you're doing that, Bridget, what is the best job? What's the very, very best job?
My
Can you
job.
just for the 5 people on the call, can you just give them the number one job?
My job. Like
Your job. Okay.
my job
Okay.
is the best job. Like I always
You
think I
just
always
listed
say
off
that.
all these functions and you're only gonna say no. Okay.
Beach.
Beach.
I think my job is like we get to learn about all these different spaces and places, and it's super fun. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think that the best job is the job that we hear candidates when they're talking about it, like their face lights up. That's like the best because they get to do the work that they just love. So, all
Yes, I agree.
right.
That is fun. That is fun. All right. So I'm going to go through this next part of the agenda, a bunch of resources. As Bridget alluded to, I do love to embed a link when I have the chance. So definitely feel free to click through these slides as we go when you get them. So this first one here is just kind of a foundational where to start. So career exploration resources. We've got our Z site, the z.umn.edu/GBCC. That's pasted on almost every slide in this deck. That's the place to go. But I also have segmented or I guess included a few of the links that go to different pages that are all about different career exploration tools. And I'll unpack these 4 sublinks in this first part. So the career exploration, personal assessment, exploration, discovery, networking, a bit more. I also linked we have a number of recordings that live on our YouTube channel, but just for sake of being able to get there, I should clarify some of our videos actually are not on our YouTube channel, but on our internal U of M media site. So yeah, these links are a great way to be able to find a lot of our videos. But the new thing that I've added, Coach Bridget put together this awesome deck that's highlighted here in the bottom right-hand corner, this Chat GPT and career deck. And it's got all sorts of AI prompts for different career management activities, but specifically I highlighted in slides 4 through 12, there are prompts for different career exploration activities. So that's kind of a fun way to try out technology as well as what you know about yourself and what resources you already have, like your resume, and see what kind of magic like ChatGPT or any other preferred AI tool can, generate ideas for you. One of the things that I wanted to highlight too, and you may have heard of these at other times in our different presentations or had a coach tell you about these, but here are two career assessments that I often will recommend. I don't recommend for everyone because they don't always fit every situation, but these are two career assessments that we offer for free through our office. Basically, just talk to your coach. Hey, I want to take the career leader assessment or the Clifton Strengths assessment, and the coach can get an email over to our ops team that can send you the instructions to take these. So Career Leader is a great assessment for measuring interests, motivation, skills, things like that, and then list out different business specific careers that match up with those. It's got a really nice report that you can interact with. And then Clifton Strengths. A lot of people maybe have taken Clifton Strengths, or previously known as Strengths Finder, through their company or through a class or a community group. But we do also offer it. Bridget is our awesome strengths interpreter in our office. I can do it too, but if you're interested in retaking your strengths or taking it for the first time and learning what your top 5 talents are and how to cultivate those talents into strengths, definitely take us up on taking this free assessment. Another tool that we use for general career exploration is a book that Coach Bridget, myself, and some of our other coaches have gone through training for, of this pretty popular book called Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans out of the Stanford Design School. And so they have um, a lot of different activities that you can do, but they come from, engineering thinking, a design thinking mindset of let's prototype and try things, and let's come up with Odyssey plans, and how do we collaborate with each other to come up with different iterations of how life could be. And so this is a book that you can check out from our CBCC library if you're on campus and come by the Career Center, or it's cheap, easy to find from your local library or buy online. But there's also lots of great TED Talks, videos. Design thinking is really taking Storm through career services in higher education. And so I've linked a couple of YouTube playlists, TED Talks, things like that you can watch if you have any interest in learning more about the Design Your Life approach to career exploration and design. So we also have a lot of resources about those functions that Bridget was talking about and referred to. And so I have done, and this is a lot of text, I know, but basically it's because these are mostly just all links segmented for you so that you can go through and click on the ones that you're interested in. But I'll just highlight each of these 3 columns quickly. First, the left-hand column of alumni panels / interviews. There's a variety of panels and one-on-one that Bridget has facilitated over the years in different functional areas. You see consulting, finance, social impact, career sustainability. So those are some Zoom recordings that we've done. The middle section is a tool called the Hedgehog Project. It's got videos of industry experts in different areas. And so I believe you create an account when you click on this link, but once you have the account, it's really easy, it's free, and you just can go through and click through videos. There's usually about 3 to 4 videos in each of these areas. And so, we often recommend go out and do an informational interview with someone. Well, here's a bunch of functions and industries covered by some videos that you can, watch real easily from your computer. We also have these documents. I like to refer to them as one-pagers. Maybe they have a more official name than that, but these are different MBA career spaces. And so you can see there's a number of different consulting one-pagers that you can read through, different corporate roles, finance strategy, even more about leadership development, rotation programs, if that was something that stood out to you, or product management's another popular one. So what I would say is, go through these links or these videos, read, watch, learn more about the functions that might be some of the ones that are of interest to you. So after you've got some idea about the function, you remember back to those slides that Bridget had with multiple circles with functions, industries, companies. Well, we have a lot of resources around company and industry research as well. So we've got some videos in here. One's called Conducting Career Research. One's called Conducting Company Research. We've got documents on a lot of different popular companies. And so there's a folder where you can click in and read about a lot of different companies. And then this really cool sheet that I think, Bridget, you also kicked off this one is this, where do Carlson grads go for the past 3 years? It's really cool to see not just, what are the list of where people could have gone, but recently, where have people landed? And so that's a really helpful resource. Here's a screenshot of what that looks like on our website as well. The other resource I really love to share with people too, because you can get just endless amounts of data, is your friendly local U of M library. So their librarians have created what's called a LibGuide or library guide called Researching Employers, Industry, and Career Opportunities. And so I've linked that, but I've also put a few sub bullets in here so you can see some of the different categories within that. And here's a screenshot as well as what that page looks like. So that's got lots and lots of company and industry research tools. I'm sure the library subscribes to these services like Hoover's or Privco or some of the other tools that are in there. We also have some of these tools featured in our own Z site as well, that z.umn.edu/GBCC site. But one of the ones I like to point to a lot, especially if you're doing a local search, is the Book of Lists. So the Book of Lists is a pretty basic publication. We actually have some print copies too in our office if you'd rather page through something, but it's basically like the top 25 companies in a certain segment. And there's some like, wow, I can't believe that. Like, but I think there's ones like the top 25 hotels in the Twin Cities. And they do have publications for other marketplaces too. The thing I like about this is not necessarily, well, what's number one or number two on a certain list. Like most of us know one of the biggest retailers in town is Target, or one of the biggest healthcare providers is UHG. But often you don't know companies 3 through 25. You know the big brand names, but I love these lists because then you can see who are some of the alternative career employers in those spaces. Another tool that is a database of research is Reference Solutions, formerly known as Reference USA. And so this is another database you can search through companies. And then we also, as a career center, invest in MBA Exchange, where you can view thousands of company profiles, look for different jobs. So there's jobs posted in here as well. So that's a really nice thing. And if you need sponsorship, it's also great at helping identify H-1B visa sponsorship opportunities. So here I have these next two slides are about action steps. So initial steps. So I want you to be thinking about, as I read through these, which one of these categories, or do you have another category that you fit into? And then I have some animation that shows what, might you do next. So are you someone who you need to clarify more about yourself and careers that match your strengths? Are you someone that fits in the middle category of need more information about functional options? Or are you clear on the first two, but really thinking more about what companies might be a fit for me? Well, oh, my animation is moving on me. All right, so if you're in this middle category here, here's some recommendations here. So if you're wanting to learn more about functions, go back to that slide about the one-pagers and the career videos on Project Hedgehog and the CBCC's YouTube library. Okay, if you're in that first category and you want to figure out more about who you are, how you're wired, what your strengths are, talk to your coach, Coach Bridget, myself, about taking one of our career assessments. Or if you are already set on those first two and you need to figure out, all right, which companies, go to that company one-pager folder or look through that, where do our alums go? Or use some of those tools in the UMN library guide. So those are some first steps that I'd recommend. I almost titled this one, that one next steps and then calling this one next steps. But basically, after you narrow down 1 to 3 options, 1 to 3 functions that you're interested in, or after you got the function figured out, but industries, first, what I would recommend is let us know. You could even just be a simple quick check-in email, but hey, Coach Bridget, hey, Coach Will, I'm thinking about these 2 functions, or I'm thinking about this range of industries, but keep us in the loop. But after that, here's a few practical things you can do. So start by networking with people in your preferred functions or industries. So a couple of sub ideas here, such as reading a popular book that we refer a lot, or some different groups that you could reach out to find people that you want to reach out to. Get connected with the Carlson community and different professional organizations. I've listed some of the popular national ones here, as well as some Carlson groups and some ideas about, different things like being more plugged into Millie if you're interested in healthcare opportunities. And then finally, going back to that design your life idea of designing your way forward, is prototyping, trying some things out. So try out the work. Now, that's generally addressing any gaps you have, like skills gaps or experience gaps, through things like courses, experiences, projects, could be volunteering, etc. Coach Bridget and I have partnered with the academic advisors over the last few years to create a presentation called Planning Beyond the Core. So planning beyond the core curriculum. What are some of the things you need to do to address some of those gaps through courses and other opportunities? So that's a presentation that's linked there, Planning Beyond the Core. So, you can flip through that slide deck and see what kind of opportunities from classes that are listed, but also there's some experiences. And so pick out some experiences like the Ascend Fellowship. Check that info session out that's coming up soon, or check out the open houses for the different enterprises that are coming up, or check out things like what courses might you take, like the new product design or development class, and then entrepreneurship through acquisition conference is also coming up soon. So there's lots of links in here that you could explore as you figure out, what do I want to do, and what are some of the ways that will help me to get there and be prepared to get there. Oh, I actually clicked on one. All right, back to my slides here. So, coach's perspective. Well, before I jump into that, any questions, Bridget, that have come up in the chat? I've seen a little bit of movement here, but I did move it off to my other slide. Or any other questions people have as I get a sip of water here?
Yeah, I was just throwing links in the chat, trying to emulate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any specific questions, but just wanted to call out it was very informational, and I look forward to getting the slides and diving through links. And Bridget, you can be ready for a 30-minute coaching session here in the next couple weeks on some more stuff in my career exploration. So
Love it.
really
That's great.
appreciate it, Bridget. Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yes, and I second that. Thank you for your time today, guys.
Oh, you bet, Nira.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. I have a few more slides, but if you need to jump to, I totally get that. We often record these because we know that more people watch these than actually can attend live, but we do appreciate the live questions and, comments and ideas. It always helps us figure out what is best to elevate. So we do have a couple of resources. You might be familiar with some of these, and some you may be hearing about for the first time. But I did segment like some of our most popular working professional resources here. Obviously, our Google site is where to go for everything. But within that, you can get to all of these other 3. So VMock is a resume review software tool that you can upload your resume, get AI feedback right away. I mentioned MBA Exchange already, but it's a great tool to go in and look for MBA specific roles. I know that one of the things I hate about massive job boards like Indeed is you've put in MBA and you get all sorts of stuff that's not even narrowed down. And so I like having a job board that's narrowed in by MBA specific, business specific roles. Interview Prep, I think, is an underutilized gem, but it's a recording tool where you can record yourself answering questions. And so that's why I like to reference that one. If you're not really familiar with Handshake all that much yet, it is our go-to place for all things events, coaching, interviews, job applications. You may be mainly using it right now to sign up for events like this one or scheduling coaching appointments. But as you get closer to the end of the program, you may be looking for jobs, internships if you're doing that, or getting into like on-campus interview pipelines, things like that. So this is a tool that you definitely should use. Recommend downloading the app if it's something that you're going to be using a lot of. So Handshake is our career platform. I love this slide, these pictures that Bridget's put together of just a lot of fun events. You can see it, the bottom one in the bottom corner with all the great pictures is kind of our, I like to call it our like capstone keynote like event, careers and cheers, that happens in the spring, and just a great way to get people together in person. But we do a lot of recorded activities just like we're doing today as well, and these 200 plus events are found through Handshake as well. If you are interested, by the time you're done with the program, stuff that we've referenced today, such as these entry-level MBA roles, the different consulting or marketing or finance, whether it's a rotational program or an MBA entry-level role, you can see some of the popular characteristics of these roles that are recruited for at Carlson. Now, if you're above this, if you're looking for more senior roles, you work more closely with your coach on what that looks like. But entry-level MBA, I'll read through these here quickly, but someone with like about 5 to 7 years of work experience. Often they're an accelerator already in that business space that they're moving forward into, or already in a business role, not making a huge pivot from engineering or healthcare provider type role. Usually will be a leader of projects and not leader of people right away. And these are typically at large corporate brand name employers. So Bridget had lots of lists of key employers. Those are typically the names, usually names you're pretty familiar with. So those could be a rotational program with acronyms like LDP, LDRP, RLDP, things like that. But they're often in these 4 spaces here. You'll see consulting, which again, those naming conventions can be challenging, but associate, senior associate, finance analyst, senior financial analyst, product manager. The marketing ones, it could be a BM, AMM, so associate marketing manager, associate brand manager. So if you're interested in those are some of the things you were thinking about before today, or now that you've seen this, you're thinking about those. To become eligible to do those things, you'll go through what's called the Greenlight Career Advancement Program. And so the Greenlight program is our career orientation. It's offered 2 times per year. So the next one's going to be in January, and then we'll do one in June. It helps you become interview ready, but it's everything from personal branding and the foundations of resume writing all the way up to your interviewing skills. And so it's for working professionals across all programs. So MBA, online, part-time, our HR programs, things like that, our specialty masters. And if you've complete this program, then you're eligible to participate in those fall campus recruiting opportunities. So if you're interested in that, you can register in Handshake now already for our January session. Highlighting a couple of other upcoming events. So I did reference our enterprise open houses. The first one here is we have later this week already and early next week, the CCE or Consulting Enterprise Open House is happening this week. You can register for that or catch next week's. Ascend is also a cool program that has come back this year. You will get to work as a Ascend Fellow, which would work with BIPOC and women-owned businesses. And so that info session is happening next Thursday, the 24th. And then also highlighting again, January 2025, specifically on January 16th, we're going to have an in-person workshop for that. But the pre-work is going to be released in January 2025 for that. Okay. I know we're up against the hour and some people may need to jump, but Bridget, any last words before we wrap this recording today?
I would just say what's on the screen. Please follow us on the social media as we are putting content up there every week and trying to keep folks connected to these resources. And that's it.
Cool. David and Yara, any last questions? If not, feel free to hop to your next thing.
I don't have any questions as of right now, but I will be booking my my one-on-one meeting sometime soon because I did actually finish the career leader as well as the Clifton Strengths this fall. So it's
Oh,
next
nice.
step.
Ah, so you've done it. Very cool.
Great. Good. Great. Thanks, Niara.
I'm in the same spot where I've kind of done some of the Clifton Strengths and then also career leader, and have been kind of researching a little bit more and kind of narrowing it down to a couple more.
Good.
So
Good.
definitely in the career explorer, career changer types of buckets. So
Good. Schedule time. We're here to just be that thought partner with you and help you kind of think about those next steps and connect you with folks that can help you understand a little more about what that work actually looks like too.
Yeah, then it's good to see David again. We were
Yeah.
group project partners in data analysis, or was it financial accounting?
that was in accounting over the summer.
Yeah.
Nice to see you
Okay.
too.
Small world. Great minds think alike. Well, thank you both for being here.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for everything.